Welcome. You're just letting your body settle into your chair. One of the best ways to move away from the usual busyness of the mind and the tendency to engage with it is to simply bring your attention elsewhere. And when we bring it down, down, down into the feet, the legs, the pelvis, the distance from the mind, from the brain can be helpful. So just bringing awareness down, you might need to do it more than once. In fact, it's very likely you need to remind yourself a few times to just bring attention down and just notice the familiar sensation of feet touching the ground, buttocks being supported in the chair, the weight of the body descending into gravity, any sensations that you might feel in the lower half of the body. And as each one of us does this, it helps the rest of us to bring our consciousness there. And really what we're doing is we're evening out the consciousness from a preoccupation with the mind to an openness to the entirety, to the totality of our experience. And so just gently coax attention to settle in the lower half of the body for now. And opening to the sensations that you feel there. Some of us may be feeling the pulse of the breath in the pelvis. And there's no way that your experience should be, though, which brings me to today's focus for our meditation, which is exploring the effects of holding ourselves to high standards. So all of us hold ourselves to certain standards, be they conscious or unconscious. And today I would like to invite you to let go of holding yourself to any particular standard, just for these next 30 minutes. And even as I say that word standard, you may notice a kind of contraction in the system, because holding ourselves to the standard is in fact that. It's somehow managing the system so that it appears, so that it acts in a particular way. But I'm beginning with the premise that the soul has beautiful standards for us to explore, to develop, to engage with, that are sometimes hidden by the constraints of the standards that have been conditioned into us. So in order to explore and to open to those standards of the soul, one has to let go of the programmed standards that act as a veil to our natural goodness, to our natural creativity. And you could also say simply that holding ourselves to a standard is this kind of delineation that we have between right and wrong. And what would it be to just let go of all of that in this moment in order to explore what is actually here? So at this point, I invite you to bring your breath, or rather bring your attention to the fullness of the breath, so we can move awareness up now into the body now that we've anchored a little more deeply through the lower half of the body. So bringing awareness to the breath. And we can start here. Sometimes we have these subtle standards for the breath. And what is it to just let the breath be free to find its way to naturalness, to ease, to comfort? When we let go of standards, there's a natural curiosity that dawns, a sense of wonder as to what is actually here, what is here for us to explore, to open to. So we're allowing the breath to be free of the constraints of the mind. And as we do so, it begins to find more and more freedom within the tissues. And whether the breath is open and full or tight and short, what is it to meet it without any expectations or demands? In some ways, you could say that giving the breath the freedom to express exactly as it is the first step to be giving ourselves the freedom to be just as we are. Which relaxes all the ways that we tend to contract in order to appear as a certain version that has standards. Now let's open to the body together. So we've opened to the breath and how that feels in the body. And now consciousness can expand to include more of the body. So it kind of expands like a lens. And we notice the shoulders, the arms, the legs, the head, and any other place, the organs. And what is it to open to that with just the greatest generosity possible, which means that everything is given the benefit of the doubt so that we can let go of all of the resistance and constriction that tends to be imposed upon those things that don't fit into our standards. And so, hello, body, just as you are. My deepest intent is to make peace with you, to meet you, to understand you, to serve you so you can serve me. And that requires a kind of a kindness, to meet the body with kindness, regardless of how it's showing up today. Again, those standards that we have. So I don't know about you, but I personally am feeling kind of a fullness, a softening happening in the heart. And I may be feeling what's happening in the shared field here. And maybe experiencing how standards tends to box the heart in. And then we can open as well, open that lens even more to include the emotional body and any emotions that might be coursing through our system right now. They could be familiar. You may have woken up with them today. Maybe they've been in your life for a while. Whenever you check, it's there, whether that be anxiety or irritability, worry, joy. And so we open to that. And we can hold ourselves to a standard with so-called positive things as well. I need to be joyful. I need to be positive. I need to be compassionate. These also are standards. And yet joy and compassion are really our natural state. And sometimes the trying is what prevents the natural expression of the soul's innate joy and compassion. And so I meet my emotions just as they are, letting go of right and wrong, good and bad, trusting the flow of this river. That's it. Let's take a moment also to include the mind in this exploration. We have a lot of expectations of the mind. When we sit to meditate, we expect it to be quiet. And over the course of our lives, we may expect it to be logical, to be creative, to be intelligent, to know These two can really constrain the mind from connecting to its capacity to attune to the great intelligence of life. And so in this moment, are you holding your mind to any particular standard? And can you just let it be? If it's a monkey mind today, if it's a busy mind, if it's a quiet mind, just let it be as it is. And as you let go of these standards, these right and wrong, there's a sense of spaciousness that can become available. So just see if you can feel for that. Is all of the ways in which we tend to micromanage our inner experience begin to soften. We begin to have available to us the sense of spaciousness and presence, of openness to possibility. And all of the qualities that come from that, be it peace or joy, understanding, love. And so for the remainder of this meditation, I invite you to steep in that sense of presence and any qualities that are accompanying it today. And also continuing to notice when the sense of right and wrong comes in, usually, of course, from the mind, but it can also be a memory in the body. And just letting that be exactly as it is. So it's not wrong that we have standards. It's not wrong that we make things right and wrong. It's just something to notice. That's what unhooks us from it. So not making the words that I'm now saying a new standard. All right, we'll have fun practicing that, and we'll meet on the other side of this silent period.